So, St. John Street, you came into town, rolled on in. That's not what I mean. Like, in a carriage, rolled on in.
Called me fat.
No, see, it's not how it went down.
One time.
I was
He
thinking
called me humongous.
old-timey, like the pumpkin carriage. It has, like, the giant wheels. That's what I was thinking.
Remember when you called me humongous?
I know.
Alright. So 2005, that summer, I started going to JP Licks a lot after John said that I have a beautiful smile.
And I said that how? I said that when you were
at the cash register, yeah. And I hadn't even seen you yet, and you said that, and I looked up and I saw you with your goofy hair tufts and big eyes and big bushy beard. So anyway, I started going to JP Licks more often, but I had no idea that he only worked one night a week. So I went all the time and only randomly saw him. So this went on for about a year, where I would see him on occasion and he'd smile or I'd smile.
But this was all after the spoon incident.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Was it?
The spoon, that was the first time you walked in the door. I was working the register. You were in line all the way, looped all the way around back again. I could still easily see you were totally beautiful, and I needed to somehow tell you it. But by the time you had gotten around and ordered your ice cream, PIC said I had to go back and start doing dishes. So I knew I had to somehow let you know, even though I couldn't talk to you directly. So I took a spoon and wrote a message on there. And as you were about to be rung up, and I was heading back. So just after you got your little thing of ice cream, I handed you this spoon that said, on the handle of the spoon, it said, "You look," and then around the spoon circle, "Beautiful!" exclamation point. And that's what I had first thought when you first came in, and I didn't have any better way to, I didn't have any more clever thing to say than that,
And I was really embarrassed, because you don't get spoons handed to you. You know, if you go to JP Licks, they're at the end of the counter in a bucket. Yeah, here's this guy handing me a spoon, so the person that was serving me knew something was up and was kind of laughing, and I was embarrassed and red in the face, and I saw that there was something written on it, but I just grabbed it and walked away. And then I read what it said. So I used to have a blog, and I was writing about all this stuff, so my friends from back home knew all these crazy stories. Because then, throughout this year of us kind of flirting,
from starting at Spoon Day
to when we started dating, there's a year of just like Charlie Chaplin stuff, you know, no words, just glances and smiles, and John being crazy. Like, I'd go into JP Licks and wait in line, and he would start throwing, like, sometimes he would throw like Reese's pieces at me, or marshmallows, but then other times he would throw whole cones, like, you know, whole sugar cones at me, and the people in line are laughing and staring at me, and I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, so this all went on for a year, and then finally John, I was sitting there reading Harry Potter. I don't remember which one it was, but I was sitting in JP Licks reading, and he was there working, and he came out to clean tables, and he walked up to me, and I could see him out of the corner of my eye coming up, and he said, "Excuse me, would you mind if I asked you something?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "What's your name?" And so I said, "Rose." And actually, I already knew his name, because I'm very thorough in my stalking. And after the spoon incident, I went in one day and I asked someone, he wasn't there, and I decided to ask who the guy was that handed me a spoon. Like, we're in an ice cream shop, you know? So,
you had to keep elaborating.
Yeah, well, I had to kind of explain. I'm like, oh, he has a beard. And she's like, Johnny? And so that's when I knew that his name was Johnny. But I thought it was, you know, Johnnny, Johnny. And so I knew his name. But anyway, I asked him, or did I ask you your name? Like, I think I might have, to try to hide the fact that I had been stalking you. By the way, 100 years ago, this would be called courting and not stalking. So, I'm very impatient. John and I are like black and white in so many ways. I'm very impatient. John's very patient. And so I was like, alright, something's got to give. It's been a year of this. So I was sitting there, and I called my sister, and I was telling her, you know, what had just happened, and she was like, you have to do something. You have to do something. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And she's like, write him a note. She's like literally screaming at me on the phone. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. She's like, just do it. So I was like, what am I going to say? And she's like, just write something. Slip him a note. And so I wrote a note that said, you are my most favoriteest ice cream man ever. So I wrote this note, and I was on my way out, and I was going to give it to him, but he was ringing up a big group. And so I went over to a guy that was bussing tables, and I said, excuse me, do you think you could give this to John? And here I am thinking, okay, I'll just, give this to this guy, and I'll walk away. And so he's like, yeah, sure. Johnny! And he screams over, and John looks, and like the whole crowd looks over, and I'm standing there, so I just wave and walk away. So yeah, and then after having done that and been really embarrassed, I thought, all right, I might as well just go like head first, 100%. So I went home and I wrote a Craigslist misconnection ad, and I said, to my most favoriteest ice cream man ever. That was the subject line. And I said something like, I can't keep going to JP my jeans don't fit anymore. If you want to hang out, let me know, or something like that. I don't remember what it said, but something like that. And so I posted this, and 2 days went by, and I got really embarrassed, and I took it down. Then a few days after that, so Gina was staying with me at that point. She was up here, and she was sleeping in the living room. And my desk was there with the computer, and it was like 6 in the morning or something. I was getting ready for lab, and I decided to just check the misconnections, just kind of out of boredom. And I come across, so like I would search for JP, and I came across a title that said, from your most favoriteest ice cream man ever. And I started shrieking, and Gina like gets up, she's like, what? And I'm like, read it. And so... But
that was the end of what you had experienced.
That was my side of it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, what had happened...
Yeah. Our PIC, actually, the same guy you gave the note to, and he yelled my name, which I can't remember his name. I only remember it as Cupid now because of what he did. He was a bad PIC because person in charge, because he would always be out back checking Craigslist for who knows what. He wouldn't be doing his managerial job. But turns out that he caught that note on Craigslist, and he actually printed it up and put it up on the bulletin board. He didn't know it was obviously for me, so it was just kind of wrote on the note saying, whose is this? Like, this is me, this is awesome. And so that was there for what about probably like a week or so on the bulletin board back there for us to read. I'd seen it, but I was too embarrassed, just didn't know what to do about it because I was so unsure of myself and all that. Anyway, so about after that week it was up there. After we closed down, he put the alarm on. We all went out to the bar to get a drink, and I told him that was actually for me, and I told him that I got the note from you that said from to my most favorite ice cream man, and the title of it was that, and it's obviously meant for me. And he was like, oh, this is crazy. We gotta go back, and you gotta take that. You gotta email it. So he opened the store up. You're not supposed to like open up again and turn off the alarm and do all this. As one of the things that's really bad to do as a person in charge. He just blazed right through it. Said, I'm gonna do this. Take this down. Write this email tonight. Write it to me. So I tried to write back. I tried to respond to the actual. I had to write anonymous, whatever numbers on there. Email, wrote it. It got bounced back because you had taken it down days before. So then I made a new misconnection, posting back that said from your most favorite ice cream man.
And so then began my downfall in lab. The summer that I did mostly nothing and got yelled at afterwards. A series of crazy dates involving skinny dipping in Houghton's Pond and peeing on trees and...
Well, of course, the first date was being in the tree.
After Junebug.
After Junebug.
Didn't start with the peeing on the tree.